Guys, this morning, Mike Sando of The Athletic released his annual QB Tiers rankings, and this is voted on by NFL coaches and executives across the league. And Jason sent us a little tidbit of the article, so I don't really have the rest of the article outside of what he sent us. But Tier 3 is where Deshaun Watson fell, and these are the other quarterbacks in Tier 3, voted on by NFL executives and coaches. Tua came in at 15 in Tier 3. Trevor Lawrence at 16 in Tier 3. Steve, take the next one when you're ready. You had Kyler Murray at 17 in Tier 3. Deshaun Watson at 18 in Tier 3. Baker Mayfield at 19 in Tier 3. And to round out Tier 3, you had Derek Carr, Geno Smith, and Russell Wilson, all in Tier 3, according to Mike Sando's QB tier rankings, voted on by NFL coaches and executives. I have some of the quotes from those executives in the article, if you'd like me to read those for you guys real quick. But before, if you want to start.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it is important that what Mike said. This is not Mike Sando's picks.
No.
He's just compiling them.
That's exactly right.
From 50 guys.
But, I don't know where you guys are on this, but I've always thought that this is a really important list because of who's doing the voting. It's not a popularity contest.
Right.
It's the executives and the coaches.
Yeah. And it is year to year because guys move around.
Yes.
It's mostly based on what they've seen. It's mostly based on what they saw last year and what they expect this year.
And by the way, I usually hate these lists because I think they're just all over the place. But just preliminarily, I don't got a problem with this.
No, I don't either.
By the way, let me read. So they graded 30 quarterbacks total.
Right.
And all 30 of the quarterbacks end up on one of 4 tiers. So there's 4 tiers in terms of quarterbacks. I think this is an important thing to mention before you get to the quotes specifically on Watson, Mike. So players on Tier 1, it says, a Tier 1 quarterback can carry his team each week. The team wins because of him. He expertly handles pure passing situations. He has no real holes in his game. Tier 2, a Tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations in doses and or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above Tier 3. He has a hole or two in his game. Now to Tier 3, which is where both Deshaun Watson and our old buddy Baker Mayfield ended up. Tier 3 quarterback is a legitimate starter, but needs a heavier running game and or defensive component to win. A lower volume drop back passing offense suits him best. And finally, Tier 4. A Tier 4 quarterback could be an unproven player, not enough information for voters to classify, or a veteran who ideally would not start all 17 games. So really there's 3 tiers for starting quarterbacks.
Here are a couple quotes real quick, G, and then I'll start with you. But these are just a couple quotes that Mike Sando compiled from these NFL executives and coaches regarding Deshaun Watson. First quote comes from an NFL executive who says, he's a 3 and it's just a bad fit. You have an RPO quarterback in a play-action offense, not a good mix. An NFL defensive coach said he's a better pocket passer than given credit for, but he's always been slow going through his progressions because he knew if it broke down, people could not catch him. And another NFL offensive coach said, I wonder if he loves it enough. He should be way better than this. Those were the 3 quotes from NFL executives that Mike Sando included in his annual QB tier rankings regarding Deshaun Watson.
Mike, did I misread? I thought that comment from that last one, I thought he said, I wonder if he loves the offense enough.
No,
there's a difference.
It just says, I wonder if he loves it enough. That's
okay. Yeah. Wow, it's funny because when I read it, I actually somehow threw the word offense in there.
I'm reading it again. No, that was exactly copy and pasted.
So, meaning he loves, whether or not he loves football enough?
You can interpret it however you
want to I guess that's how I would interpret
read, Mike, the second quote you had there from the defensive coach, there's actually more to that quote. Do you have it? Because I could read it.
Yeah, read it,
just read it.
Because I think the second part is really fascinating.
I agree with you. I thought the same thing when I read it.
He says, a lot of stuff he did with Houston, there was designed RPOs and movement plays for him. But this is the most fascinating part. Maybe the processing is a tick slow. I can't explain it. It just feels like there's something missing. That is exactly how I feel about Deshaun Watson. It just feels like something, when you watched him, for all the people like, oh, he had a great moment here, he had a great moment there. When I watched him in Houston, every time I saw him play in Houston, without almost any exceptions, I always was like, wow, special player, special player. And I have not felt that way once. There is something missing. I don't know what it is, but I have not felt that way, and I didn't even feel that way. Unlike most people, I didn't even feel that way in the second half of San Diego. I think that's been the most overhyped half of football in the history of sport. I don't know what it is, and I hope he can get it back because I remember watching him in Houston.
Do you think it's processing? Because to me, the word that jumped out to me was processing.
It did, but if that was such an issue, then why was it an issue in Houston?
Well, I'll tell you why, and this is my opinion, but I'm fascinated to get your thoughts on it. I think in Houston he was more green-lit to go when the pocket broke down. I feel in Cleveland there is a hesitancy from the offensive, whether it's Stefanski or Van Pelt or whomever. I feel like they were trying to drive into his head, go through all of your progressions before you decide to run.
That's not his game.
And if you tell a quarterback to hold it a half second longer, in the NFL, that's like 2 days. So if you're 3.2 to delivery or 3.7 to delivery, that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, hopefully
and if they're trying to make him a more pocket passer and to get him in there to wait that extra tick, that's the difference between tucking the ball and running for 18 yards or taking a sack or throwing an incompletion or, worse yet, an interception.
It is the reason why they changed the offense. Like, Kevin Stefanski's offense is very 1, 2, 3. Here's this option. This is this option. They made a big deal out of running option routes. And option routes have been in the game since like the early 2000s.
Yeah, but they acted like that was like changing the game.
That was changing the world. I'm like, no, this is what regular people run. Even as I watched the game, right? And I will say this about Ken Dorsey. As I was watching the game, it was the first time I saw Cleveland Browns receivers running diagonally with someone chasing them.
Right.
Usually it's sit down and guys are all over him. He's throwing the ball in the phone booth. I'm like, dang, it take all that to complete the route. But now you see Woods running shallow crosses across the field, making these guys play. I think he was not comfortable in offense. It was obvious. And really, like offense and the way you put things together, Patrick Mahomes could be great anywhere. But what really makes him a cheat code is Andy Reid. It's like, yeah, that's how you do it. Throw behind the back passes. That's him. Like, but you got it. Some people want to see it first, Bull, right? They want to see that before they let you have that type of autonomy, right? LeBron played one way. And if you're a coach and you're watching LeBron play, he's going to dribble the ball. He's going to have the rock. But if you put the people around him and change the way the shooters are, you'll see the best out of LeBron, right? So my thing is, I think he was correct in a lot of things he's saying. And one reason that they say his processing is a tick slower, I agree with that. It's just like playing baseball. If you quit a year and you don't play baseball from 13 to 14, you come back 15 years old. Now people throwing the ball 5 miles an hour faster. Now the guys that didn't have curveballs, now their curveballs is breaking everywhere.
Which is why I wanted to see him in preseason, because the speed's a little more than it is at practice.
And he sat a whole year. I think that, to me, more than anything, it is unprecedented. There has never been a player or a quarterback in their prime, except for Michael Vick.
Yeah, that's the only one.
And guess what? When he came back, who we have? Andy Reid. And Andy Reid will change the offense in a heartbeat. Andy Reid will be like, okay, well, we'll throw this out. We'll get rid of this.
Talk about a cheat code.
Yeah, here you go. Andy Reid make, what's the name, Smith look good? Alex Smith. He made Vic look good. McNabb look great. Like, he's that guy.
Was he the coach for Nick Foles, or am I wrong?
Yes.
No.
That was
what's his name?
In Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Can't
think of his name.
I can't either. He played quarterback for the Browns, didn't he? Wasn't he one of the
Peterson.
Yes.
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
And yes, so the processing, to me, that is one thing I will get, because when you see him, sometimes he's like, he sees it and he didn't believe it. He didn't let it go.
Right.
And sometimes it takes time to let that rock go and have faith in it.
Yeah. Do we think they got it right with Tier 3? I think G and I said yes. Do you believe that that's accurate?
Yeah, I mean, he's Tier 3. I think he's right where, he's 18th, just middle, kind of middle of the pack. I mean, he hasn't even been that good, frankly. He hasn't been the 18th best quarterback the last 2 years.
No, I think he's getting more equity in 3 years ago, Deshaun.
Yes, still, but less each year because he was higher. Last year, he still was a Tier 2 quarterback on this thing.
Which was surprising, but he was.
I think he could get back to tier 2.
But here's the
I do too, G.
I want him in tier 1. He was in tier 1.
That won't even be good enough. He needs to be a tier 1 quarterback.
The Browns traded for a guy because they thought he was a tier 1 quarterback.
Yes.
You don't trade what you trade. You don't pay what you pay for a tier.
Right now, he's one notch ahead of the guy they gave up on to get him.
What is the definition? Can you read the definition of tier 2 again?
Tier 2?
Yeah, because I think it was
Has a hole or two in his game.
Okay.
All right, tier 2. Now, if he ended up in the top of tier 2, I could live with that, but he got to be in the top.
So
tier 2 is big.
Explain, read this, and then ask yourself if he fit that description in tier 2, could the Browns win a Super Bowl?
A tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations in doses or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above tier 3. He has a hole or two in his game. Yes, if he plays at a tier 2 level, the Browns can win a Super Bowl.
Yes, they can.
If he plays at a tier 3 level, they will not.
I agree.
No, they won't.
That's it.
I agree. Yep.
Tier 3 quarterback. Here's the tier. I'll give you the other guys. So tier 1.
Bo, give us all of them. Tier 1.
Yeah.
Tier 2.
Real quick. Tier 1. Now, me personally, I think there should be a tier just for Patrick Mahomes.
And then everybody else.
But Patrick Mahomes is number 1. He's the top. There's only 3 guys in tier 1.
Right.
Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. That's it.
Are you okay with that?
I mean, I think, again, Mahomes to me is in a class by himself.
Yeah.
The only flaw on Burrow is the injuries. There's no flaw in his game.
Should Lamar be in that conversation?
That's what I would have said.
They got Lamar 4th overall.
Yeah, I would have said
2.
you can make an argument to put Lamar in there, but because they said can carry his team consistently, unfortunately for Lamar, when the spotlight is the brightest, he has played his worst.
To me, Josh Allen should not be in that list.
Yeah, I would question him.
Like
in that list
he
too.
throws way too many interceptions. Like his decision making ain't there all the time. And look, I know he's a great runner, but if you had to ask me, I'll put Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen.
And did they say no holes in his game?
No holes?
Yeah.
His hole is his interception.
I think he does have holes. If I was starting a team, I'd take Allen over Lamar because I'm more worried about Lamar getting hurt than Allen. But
I agree with that.
You're splitting hairs. They're
Okay.
both. So just so you know, Patrick.
So
it's 50. Go ahead, Mike.
Real quick on that.
Yeah.
To Bo's point, it should be Mahomes in tier 1, and then those 3 in tier 2.
I agree.
That's how it should be.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because really pick your preference in terms of.
So Mahomes got a tier 1 vote from all 50 people in the poll. Not a surprise. Burrow got 43 votes for tier 1, 7 for tier 2. Josh Allen got 39 for tier 1, 10 for tier 2, and 1 for tier 3, which is absurd. Voting Josh Allen in tier 3 is absurd.
Maybe they talked to Ken Dorsey.
Lamar.
Is that you, Ken?
Lamar got 23 tier 1s and 26 tier 2s and 1 tier 3, which again to me is ridiculous. So.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, the rest of Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert tied for 5, Aaron Rodgers 7, which I don't buy at 40 years old coming off an Achilles.
So are those the guys tier 1?
These are tier 2.
Okay, so when
Lamar is the top of tier 2, number 4.
Okay.
But I'm giving you within tier 2, you have Lamar, then Stafford and Herbert tied, then Rodgers at 7, Stroud at 8, Dak at 9, Jared Goff 10, Jalen Hurts 11, Brock Purdy 12, Kirk Cousins 13, and Jordan Love 14. So you have 11 guys in tier 2.
Wow.
And then tier 3, you saw starting with Tua at 15.
Right.
So.
And there's some good quarterbacks in tier 3. You got guys.
There's serviceable guys there.
Got Tua. You got Trevor Lawrence.
But to Bull's point, we didn't blow up the franchise and give up 3 number 1s and an unprecedented at the time contract to have a tier 3 quarterback or a guy that might be a tier 2 guy. Yeah. He needs to be a tier 1 quarterback.
He needs, at the very least, to be
upper
a legitimate top tier 2, top of the guy.
And if he is,
then that's
we're
good.
talking about the Browns in the playoffs. And if he's not, we're talking about another season that didn't end the way we wanted.
Right.
It's all signs and all of these discussions that we've had come back to one thing.
Yeah.
He is the elixir. He is the guy. If he plays well, this team wins. If he doesn't, we don't have a chance.
Winning in the biggest moments because, the Browns have a good enough roster that they could still go to the playoffs with a tier 3 quarterback. But once you get to the playoffs and you're facing Mahomes or Burrow or Allen or Lamar or all these other guys, you're not going to consistently beat tier 1 and tier 2 quarterbacks.
No.
Because they have good defenses, maybe not as good as your defense, but it's good enough that they're going to get much better quarterback play. So Deshaun Watson may not be the difference between them making the playoffs and not, but he's definitely giving you the difference between them making the playoffs and having
winning.
a chance to win it all.
Yes, you're right.